Am I the asshole for cutting my hair so my sister had a longer punishment? This technically happened around 7 years ago, but after newly revealed information, things are tense. Back when I was 17, my younger sister Ellie thought it would be a fun prank to cut my hair in my sleep. I'm a bit of a mover and active dreamer, so when I suddenly jolted, my sister panicked and ended up cutting off a much longer chunk than what she wanted. Out of instinct, my sister let out a scream, so I woke up and saw what she did. My parents woke up to me yelling at her and in turn yelled at her too. My mom took me to the hairdresser and I ended up going from having my hair halfway down my back to a pixie cut. As punishment, my sister had to use some of her savings to pay for my new hairstyle and then gave my sister a choice to either get a buzz cut or no phone and no social life until my hair got longer. Let me be clear when I say until my hair got longer. I don't mean that until it's back to its original length, but rather long enough so that growth was noticeable. My hair usually doesn't take too long to grow, so my sister chose the second punishment as she didn't want to lose her. That just made me all the more furious, so out of vengeance, I would give myself little trims at night in the bathroom every once in a while to make it seem like my hair wasn't growing. Eventually, my sister got tired of waiting and missed hanging out with her friends outside of school and asked for some other type of punishment. Our dad reminded her of her option, but it still had been months and my sister felt like it wasn't fair because she didn't intend to cut as much as she did and that she apologized and insisted that while my hair could grow back, she could never get back time that she missed enjoying her teen years. My sister would cry and pout but refused to shave her head to get back her privileges. Over time, I got over wanting revenge and just let my hair grow, and my sister was ecstatic to getting off the punishment. Years went by and we never spoke about it again until we had a conversation with our cousins talking about the worst thing we've done to our siblings. My sister brought up the haircut and I casually mentioned how I got back at her. I didn't think it was a big deal anymore, but my sister got upset and later texted me calling me an ass. So, am I the asshole?
Would I be the asshole for not letting my girlfriend bring her dog to move in with me? So I live at home with my parents. My girlfriend also lives at home with her parents in the same town as me. We've been dating for about 1.5 years now and have discussed many times about moving in together. I love her and I can see myself being with her for a long time. I have no doubt that we can be a great couple that lives together with no problems. However, she has a little rat dog that I despise and insists that she brings her along whenever we eventually do get our own place. She loves that dog more than anything, and I don't know if she'll actually leave her at home when we move away. Every time I bring it up, she changes the subject and it's too much to discuss because we still have a while before we actually do move. She has no idea that I don't even like the dog, and I just pretend to like her when I'm over at their house so she doesn't get mad at me. The worst part is that the dog is like 2 years old, and those little mutts live to be like 15, so it would be a long time before it even dies. If I tell my girlfriend to leave her dog at home or else we aren't going to work out, would I be the asshole? Am I the asshole for firing my brother's girlfriend over the phone? I am the owner of a coffee shop. Linda is one of my employees who joined 6 months ago. 4 months ago, she met my older brother and they started dating. Ever since they started dating, Linda has been acting like she owns the place. She never comes in on time and treats my other employees rudely. Every time I scold Linda, I end up receiving a call from my brother telling me not to pester his girlfriend. She's been shirking her responsibilities lately. Even after the holiday period ended, she chose not to show up. I called her up today and she told me that she didn't feel like coming in. I told her that I've had enough and that I was finally going to fire her. I told her we only needed diligent employees here and that she was clearly not one of them. Hours later, my brother stormed into my house, cursing and yelling at me for firing his girlfriend. My husband kicked him out of the house and I was honestly so annoyed, but am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for not acknowledging that I have a sister? 9 years ago, we found out that my mother had a 5-year affair with someone she met from work. My parents divorced and she went to get remarried to the man, Greg. My mother moved her husband and his daughter from a previous marriage into our house and I lived with them before I left for college. I remained in minimal contact with them until Kylie, my stepsister, joined my company and started working in my department. Nobody was aware of our relation since we had different last names and I told Kylie not to disclose anything about this. Last Friday, while clocking into work with a few of my coworkers, Kylie came up to me and asked if I could come home for a family dinner. By lunch, our entire department was gossiping about it and Kylie would confirm their suspicions. Fed up with all of this, I told the department that I do not have a sister. Things died down at work and I agreed to make it to dinner considering it was my mother's birthday. At dinner, I was bombarded with questions about why I refused to acknowledge my sister at work and refused to even call her my sister. My stepfather Greg told me I was a petty bully for embarrassing Kylie at work and that he has had enough of me mistreating his daughter. He told my mother that my misbehavior was a result of my parents' coddling. He demanded that I address him as my father and Kylie as my sister and to tell everyone at work that too. At this point, I had enough of his relentless chastising, so I told him that all he signed was a marriage certificate and not adoption papers, so I am not his daughter, therefore will not be addressing him as my father. I brought up the fact that I know my dad has created an account for my college fund and paid child support each month, but they use the funds to purchase a new car and to pay off credit card debt. I always found it weird that Kylie never had to get a job to go to college and could afford to stay in a nice apartment during her years there. Kylie was crying by the end of the argument. My mother broke down and yelled at me to stop, while Greg called me an ungrateful bitch. I told them that if they only had the capacity to acknowledge and care for one daughter, then do not expect me to be in Kylie's life as her big sister, and left the house. I guess Kylie posted about it on social media because friends and family called me up. Some told me I was being harsh and unfair to Greg and my mother, who took care of me, as well as Kylie, who had nothing to do with this, while some understood where I was coming from. So am I the asshole for my reaction?
Am I the jerk for kicking my cousin off of my sister's wedding Zoom call? I'm a 27-year-old male. My older sister, a 30-year-old, and her fiance, a 31-year-old male, were planning for over a year for their wedding to be this month. Obviously, they can't have the wedding as planned, but they would still like to get married, so they decided on a Zoom wedding, where all of my family and friends would just call in to watch the officiants, my sister and her fiance. My sister didn't want to be in charge of hosting the Zoom call because she thought it would stress her out, so she asked me to, and I gladly accepted. She and her fiance decided to invite everyone they originally wanted to, and it was a very big list. When we were going over the list, my sister mentioned to me that she wanted everyone else to be muted for the majority of the wedding, as she was worried that others would talk over her and her fiance and, quote, overshadow them on their big day that was already scaled down. However, her and her fiance said that I should unmute everyone at one point, so everyone that was already scaled down. However, her and her fiance said that I should unmute everyone at one point so everyone could talk and have a nice time with each other. Fast forward to the day of the wedding, everyone is muted during the ceremony, which goes great. And so I then unmute everyone and ask to please raise a hand if they'd like to talk so it doesn't get confusing. My cousin, around my age, starts waving his hand crazily, and he's with his longtime girlfriend, also a similar age, I guess. He's a very gregarious guy, so I was not surprised. Then he says stuff like, my sister and her husband are such an inspiration, it's given me the courage to do this. Then he turns to his girlfriend and pulls out a box that is the size of an engagement ring box. I immediately saw this as him trying to steal the spotlight, something that he's done since we were kids. For example, he would secretly mess up my sister and I's drawings if the adults would praise ours. So friend, also a similar age, I guess. He's a very gregarious guy, so I was not surprised. Then he says stuff like, my sister and her husband are such an inspiration, it's given me the courage to do this. Then he turns to his girlfriend and pulls out a box that is the size of an engagement ring box. I immediately saw this as him trying to steal the spotlight, something that he's done since we were kids. For example, he would secretly mess up my sister and I's drawings if the adults would praise ours. So because of this, I booted him off the call. Then I quickly announced that my cousin had technical difficulties and would not be joining again. Everyone else accepted this and went about talking, and my sister and her husband did too. The rest of the wedding went smoothly, except for the fact that my cousin kept texting me angrily, saying that he finally wanted to propose as a surprise with family all around, and I ruined it. My aunt and uncle texted me the same. So, am I the jerk?